The jungle burned with the heat of battle. Smoke covered the sky, and the sound of gunfire echoed through the thick alien trees. Human soldiers and the Zarnak Empire clashed in a deadly fight on the edge of the Korthan Ridge. Among the human troops was Sergeant Cole Rivers, known for his sharp instincts and fearless heart. He had faced death many times before, but today felt different. The humans were retreating and the enemy was closing in fast. Cole's squad had fallen back to the dropship, but the enemy had set up an ambush. A hidden explosive was planted under the ridge. If it went off, the blast would wipe out the entire squad. There was no time to call for help. Cole didn't hesitate. He ran toward the device, shouting for the others to go without him. His captain ordered him to stop, but Cole didn't listen. He had made his choice. The last image his team saw was Cole diving toward the bomb as the timer hit 0. The explosion was massive. Fire and metal filled the air. The blast shook the ground, tossing soldiers to the floor. Trees snapped like twigs and dust covered everything. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing left of the ridge. Just a smoking crater and the burnt remains of armor. The humans believed Cole had sacrificed himself to save them. The Zarnak commander, General Vark, watched the explosion through his tactical screen. He nodded slowly and smiled. "The human is gone," he said coldly. "Such bravery wasted." His soldiers cheered. One more problem was out of the way. The humans pulled back, mourning their fallen hero, while the aliens advanced with new confidence. No one expected what would happen next. Hours passed. Night fell over the jungle. The air was thick with smoke and silence. But under the ground, in a deep crack beneath the blast zone, something moved. Cole's fingers twitched. His eyes opened slowly. Pain shot through his body, but he was alive, broken and bleeding but breathing. The explosion had thrown him into a crevice, shielding him just enough from the full force. Rocks had crushed his arm and his leg was torn open, but his heart still beat. He didn't understand why he was still alive. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it was something else. He didn't. He wasn't done yet. Cole dragged himself through the dark, using his one good arm to pull his body forward. Each movement was slow, painful, and filled with effort. But he didn't stop. Not for pain, not for fear. He had seen what the Zarnak did to prisoners. He refused to be one. Blood marked his path, but so did his will. The jungle was different, now. Quiet. Watching. As if the forest itself knew what had happened. Cole found shelter under a thick tree root, wrapping his wounds with whatever scraps he had left. His communicator was broken. No help was coming. He was alone. But even alone, a human can be dangerous. In the Zarnak command tent, General Vark received the final report. "No body was recovered," one officer said. Vark waved a hand. "It doesn't matter. No one survives a blast like that." He turned off the report and walked away. But something in the forest didn't agree. A pair of glowing eyes watched from the darkness. The jungle had a new ghost now. A soldier left behind. A man thought to be dead. But the fire in his eyes said otherwise. Cole Rivers had died in that explosion, but something else woke up in his place. The night was quiet, but the jungle was not at peace. Strange sounds whispered through the trees, cracking branches, heavy, breathing. Something moved through the darkness, slow and careful. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't a patrol. It was something the Zarnak Empire thought was dead. Cole Rivers limped through the jungle, half covered in dirt and blood. His uniform was torn, his body ached, but his eyes were sharp. He had made a rough crutch from broken wood and used a branch as a weapon. Every step was pain. Every breath reminded him of the explosion. But he kept going. His mission had changed. He wasn't here to fight with an army now. He was alone. And he was hunting. A small Zarnak scouting team moved through the jungle, searching for humans. They joked and laughed, feeling safe after the battle. One of them stopped suddenly. He thought he saw something, a shadow moving between the trees. He raised his weapon, but there was nothing there. Just vines and fog. The others told him to relax. But a few minutes later, one of them vanished without a sound. The team froze. No noise, no struggle, just silence. Then a scream echoed from behind them. When they ran back, they found only blood and a broken helmet. Panic set in. One soldier tried to call for help, but the radio buzzed with static. Something had smashed. Then they saw the message, carved into a tree with something sharp. I'm not dead. By morning, the Zarnak camp received the report. 5 soldiers missing. No survivors. General Vark didn't believe it at first. A human, alone, injured, impossible, he growled. But the fear in his officers' eyes told a different story. Deep in the jungle, Cole found an old supply crate from a downed human. Drone. Inside there was a knife, a water pack, and painkillers. Not much, but enough. He used the knife to sharpen a spear. He cleaned his wounds. He forced himself to eat. He didn't need comfort. He needed strength. He remembered the faces of the soldiers he saved. He remembered the smirk on Vark's face. That memory burned brighter than his pain. Cole watched the Zarnak patrol routes from the trees. He learned their patterns. He waited in the shadows. Then he struck again, quick and silent. One by one, small squads disappeared. The jungle became place of fear for the aliens. They called it cursed. They said a ghost hunted them. But Cole was no ghost. He was very real and very angry. Word spread fast. Zarnak soldiers refused to go out at night. Some said they heard a voice whispering in the dark. Others found strange traps, spikes hidden in the mud, ropes that snapped necks, pits filled with sharpened bones. Each trap marked with a human symbol, a skull scratched into the dirt. Vark finally spoke to his officers. You will find this. Human, you will bring me his head. No more excuses. He ordered drones and heat scanners to sweep the jungle. But Cole stayed ahead of them. He knew how to hide. He used their fear against them. He left false trails. He attacked from behind. He made them believe he was everywhere. Back at the human base, Cole's name was being honored. A hero who gave his life. But no one knew he was still out there, fighting a war alone. Not for medals, not for praise. But because he refused to die, the jungle belonged to him now. It had become his weapon. And the Zarnak were learning one thing the hard way. Humans don't give up. Not even after death. Cole sat by a small fire, hidden deep in a cave behind a waterfall. He looked at the stars through the opening above. He whispered to himself, You watched me die. Now watch what happens next. His hand gripped the knife tighter. He had only just begun. General Vark stared at the map glowing on the command table. Red dots marked the last known locations of his missing patrols. Every dot ended in silence. No reports, no survivors, no bodies. Something was out there, killing his soldiers. And he was done waiting. This is not a ghost, he growled to his officers. This is a human. One, injured, alone. His clawed finger tapped the center of the jungle. And he is making fools of us. The room was silent. No one dared to speak. Vark finally gave the order, Send the Dread Pack. The Zarnak's elite. Hunters, cold, skilled, and ruthless. They had never failed a mission. They had brought down beasts 10 times their size. This time they would hunt a human. 6 warriors entered the jungle, each wearing black armor and carrying advanced weapons. Their leader, Commander Scythe, had killed over 100 enemies. He called this mission a cleanup. They laughed at the idea of one wounded human being a real threat, but they didn't understand what they were walking into. Cole saw them coming. Their armor reflected no light. Their steps were silent, but he had learned to read the jungle. The birds went quiet. The insects fled. Something had changed. Cole watched them through the leaves, hidden behind a mask made of mud and leaves. These weren't normal soldiers. These were killers. But he wasn't afraid. He felt something else, focus. He didn't attack right away. He studied them, learned their movement, how they worked together, how they searched. Then he set the first trap. A rope tied high between trees. It looked simple, almost lazy. But When the last hunter stepped over it, it triggered a hidden spike from below. The warrior was thrown into the air and slammed into the trunk of a tree, his armor crushed. The others spun around, weapons ready. But the jungle was silent again. Only one of them was gone, yet it felt like the trees themselves were watching now. Sith signaled for a tighter formation. "He's near," he said. "Stay sharp." Cole used their fear. He made sounds in one direction, then struck from another. A flash of a knife, a snapped neck, a body pulled into the vines above. Every kill was fast and quiet. No cries, no gunshots, just the soft rustle of leaves. By nightfall, only 2 remained. Sith and his second-in-command set up camp in a small clearing. They lit no fire. They took turns keeping watch. But even as Scythe scanned the darkness, he felt something was wrong. The jungle had gone completely still. Then, without warning, a spear flew through the air. It struck the second soldier in the chest, pinning him to a tree. Sith opened fire, but he was shooting at shadows. He ran, fast and wild, crashing through the trees. But Cole was already ahead of him. Scythe fell into a hidden pit lined with sharpened sticks. His armor took most of the damage, but one spike pierced his leg. He screamed. Cole stepped out from the darkness, limping, dirty, and covered in cuts, but alive. Sith aimed his gun, but Cole kicked it away and pressed the tip of his knife to the alien's throat. "I was supposed to be dead," Cole said, voice low and calm. "You should have left me there." Scythe's eyes widened as Cole vanished back into the jungle, leaving him wounded but alive, to send a message. The next day, General Vark received a bloodied helmet and a single line carved, "Into the top, try again." Vark roared with rage and smashed the table with his claws. Around him, the officers lowered their heads in silence. The Dread Pack had failed, something no one thought possible. But far away, in the heart of the jungle, Cole stood on a high cliff, looking down at the Zarnak base in the valley. He was still hurt, still outnumbered, still alone, but now they feared him, and fear was a powerful weapon. It started with whispers in the barracks. A soldier would return from patrol, pale and shaking, claiming he saw something move in the trees. Others spoke of traps found in strange places, traps meant only for Zarnak boots. And some simply vanished, leaving behind nothing but broken gear and streaks of blood on the leaves. At first, the officers silenced the rumors, but the fear kept growing. They called him the Shade, the Jungle Ghost, or simply him. But those who had seen his eyes, they knew his real name. Cole. The name passed from squad to squad like a ghost story. Young soldiers kept their weapons close even when they slept. Some refused to go into the jungle at all. They said the trees watched them. They said the human could smell fear. At night, they huddled around dim lights, hoping he wouldn't come. For them, in truth, Cole wasn't just surviving anymore. He was changing. The pain, the loneliness, the constant fighting, it had shaped him into something else, something sharper, stronger. He no longer feared the jungle. It was part of him now. He moved with it, fought with it. He had learned every sound, every smell, every way the ground shifted underfoot. His wounds were healing, slowly but surely. The supplies he had stolen helped, but it was his will that kept him alive. One night he came across a young Zarnak scout sitting alone by a small fire, away from the others. The scout looked barely out of training. His hands shook. Cole raised his knife but paused. The scout wasn't a killer, just a frightened kid far from home. Cole lowered the blade and disappeared without a sound. The next morning, that scout told the others, "He saw me, and he let me live." That story spread faster than bullets. Some began to say he had honor. Others believed he judged who deserved death. In the command tent, General Vark listened to these tales with growing fury. "He is not a spirit. He is not a god. He is a man," he shouted. But no one met his eyes. Even his officers were starting to wonder. If one injured human could destroy elite teams, vanish at will, and survive in a jungle full of enemies, was he really just a man? Vark sent more drones into the jungle, but Cole had learned to sense them. He used mud to hide his heat. He built mirrors to reflect light. He lured them into vines and broke them with rocks. Technology meant nothing if it couldn't see him. Every time the Zarnak tried to find him, he left them a message. Simple, sharp words carved into bark or scratched onto stone. Still alive. You'll never find me. I only need one shot. Back at the human base, news finally reached the command. A broken Zarnak drone had recorded a shadowy figure walking through smoke, dragging a Zarnak rifle. The humans scanned the video. They zoomed in on the face, tired, scarred, but familiar. Sergeant Cole Rivers. They couldn't believe it. Their hero wasn't dead. He was still fighting, alone, deep behind enemy lines. Some wept, some cheered. The commander of the human fleet gave a single order: prepare a team. We're bringing him back. But Cole didn't know help was coming. He didn't need saving. In his mind, he wasn't done yet. There were still too many enemies, too many lies, too many soldiers who believed humans were weak. He would keep going, until the Zarnak stopped laughing, until they understood what it meant to fight a human who had nothing left to lose. One night, a captured Zarnak officer was found tied to a tree just outside their base, alive, unharmed, and trembling. He carried a simple message scratched into a metal plate tied around his neck. You watched me die. You celebrated too soon. The jungle was quiet, too quiet, as if it too was waiting for what came next. Cole was done hiding. Now it was time to strike back. The Zarnak outpost used to be loud, filled with marching boots, shouting orders, and the hum of machines. Now it was silent. Guards watched the trees with wide eyes. Spotlights cut through the night, searching for something they couldn't see. No one walked alone. Even the officers moved in groups, and every soldier had one name stuck in their minds. Cole. One man had turned their stronghold into a cage. Patrols returned with fewer soldiers each day, if they returned at all. Supply lines were cut. Traps exploded along their roads. Messages went missing. Food spoiled faster than it should. Rumors began. Some said the jungle was cursed. Others believed Cole had found a way to speak to the trees. But this wasn't magic. It was planning. It was survival. And it was rage. Cole no longer ran from the enemy. He attacked them, directly and with purpose. He blew up their storage units. He stole their weapons. He snuck into small camps at night and marked their command tents with human symbols. His goal wasn't just to kill. It was to break their spirit. And it was working. Inside the command center, General Vark smashed another monitor. "He is one man," he screamed. "How is this possible?" No one answered. No one dared. Because deep down, even the bravest officers were beginning to believe the impossible. The human couldn't be stopped. Vark ordered all units to fall back and form a tight perimeter around the main base. He brought in fresh troops, young, eager, and unaware of what waited for them. But even they heard the stories before the sun set. Their smiles faded as older soldiers warned them, "If you see him, you won't hear him first. And if you hear him, run." That night, Cole struck harder than ever before. He used stolen explosives to destroy a fuel depot. Fire filled the sky. Soldiers screamed and scattered. And in the middle of the smoke, someone saw a figure walking away from the EU. Flames, limping, holding a Zarnak rifle. Just like the drone footage. Just like the stories. The soldiers panicked. Some dropped their weapons. Some fled into the jungle. General Vark tried to rally them, but it was too late. The fear had already won. From the hills, Cole watched them fall apart. He had no army, no support. Just a knife, a stolen rifle, and the will to keep going. He remembered every human they had killed. Every lie they told about Earth being weak. He was here to make them remember humanity's true strength, and the galaxy was starting to listen. Across different Zarnak outposts, commanders were warning their troops. "If you face a human alone in the wild, don't fight, just run." Zarnak scouts refused to enter the Korthan jungle. One commander was heard saying, "We came to conquer this planet. Now we're afraid of one man." Back at the human command, a rescue team was ready. They had traced Cole's last known location, but their mission was no longer just to save him. It was to witness what he had done. Because Cole Rivers wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was a symbol, proof that one human could shake an empire. The sun rose over the jungle. A broken Zarnak banner fluttered in the trees. Burned into its fabric was a message, written in human script. You started this war. I'll finish it. And somewhere beneath the trees, Cole wiped the blood from his blade and moved silently toward his next target. The war wasn't over, it was just beginning. The human dropship broke through the clouds just before dawn. Its engines roared across the jungle as it flew low, scanning the thick canopy. Inside, the rescue team sat in silence, eyes focused and tense. These weren't ordinary soldiers. They were the best Earth had. But none of them knew what they would find. Sergeant Cole Rivers had been declared dead weeks ago. And yet, the reports kept coming. Burned Zarnak camps, missing patrols, terrified alien prisoners whispering about a lone human who struck like lightning and vanished like smoke. The stories sounded impossible, but they were true. Major Alina Hart led the rescue. She had trained with Cole, fought beside him. She knew how stubborn he was, how dangerous. If he's alive, she told the squad, he won't be the same man we knew. As the dropship hovered near the jungle floor, the team rappelled. Down and moved fast. They were well armed, scanning every shadow, listening to every branch snap. The jungle felt alive, like it was watching them. And it was. Cole saw them from above, his old team moving in formation. He recognized their armor, their signals, their discipline, but he didn't move. He stayed hidden in the trees. He didn't want to be rescued. He had a mission. The team set up camp by a small river. Hart activated the beacon. Cole, if you can hear this, we're here to bring you home. You don't have to fight alone anymore. For a long time, there was only silence. Then they found a sign. A simple strip of metal left on a rock with words scratched into it. Too late. I'm part of this war now. Hart stared at the message. She knew what it meant. Cole didn't think of himself as a soldier anymore. He had become something else, something the enemy feared. Later that night, a motion alarm beeped. The team rushed to their weapons expecting an ambush. But it was a gift. An injured Zarnak soldier tied up and left at the edge of the camp. A message was carved into a wooden board strapped to his chest. He tried to ambush a human. He learned the cost. Hart looked into the trees. He's watching us, she said softly. He doesn't want us here. But she refused to leave. They followed the trail deeper into the jungle, past destroyed drones, burned banners, and broken weapons. Every step told a story of traps, battles, and blood. The Zarnak had tried everything, and Cole had beaten it all. Finally, the team found a cave hidden behind thick vines. Inside were empty food packs, Zarnak gear, maps drawn on scraps of cloth. This was where he had lived, where he had planned. On the wall, carved into stone, were names of fallen humans. It wasn't just survival. Cole was keeping score. Then they heard him. A voice from the shadows. You need to leave. Hart turned slowly. Cole stood at the cave entrance, holding a rifle. He looked like a ghost, thin, scarred, with eyes that didn't blink. But his voice was steady. We came to bring you home, Hart said. We thought you were dead. I was, Cole said. But they made a mistake. They let me live. You don't have to do this alone anymore, she pleaded. I do, he answered. Because they're not afraid of armies. They're afraid of me, one man who won't stop. That fear is spreading, and it's working. Hart stepped forward. Cole, this isn't your fight alone. He looked away. Maybe not, but I already made it mine. A long silence passed. Then he handed her a data chip. Intel? Zarnak movements, weak points. Send it back, use it. Hart took the chip, her hand shaking slightly. What about you? Cole looked back toward the jungle. I'm not done yet. And before she could say another word, he disappeared. Into the trees. Like smoke, like shadow. The rescue team returned to base with the data. It helped save lives, win battles. But the real story spread even faster. One man was still out there, fighting, alone. Because sometimes the most dangerous weapon in war, is a soldier who refuses to die, and the Zarnak knew. Cole was coming. The Zarnak High Council met in silence. For the first time in their history, they were afraid. The war against humanity was not going as planned. Entire battalions had gone missing. Outposts were empty. Supply lines had collapsed. And at the center of it all was one man, Sergeant Cole Rivers. The stories had become legends. The jungle ghost, the one who would not die. Every Zarnak soldier knew his name. They spoke it in whispers. Some refused to go near the jungle at all. The fear had spread farther than bullets or bombs ever could. General Vark stood before the council. His eyes were red, his pride shattered. "We thought the humans were weak," he said. "We were wrong. One of them destroyed half our operations alone. One!" The council was angry, confused. "He was just a man," one of them hissed. "No," Vark replied. "He was human. And now, I understand what that really means." Far away in the thick jungle, Cole stood on a ridge overlooking a massive Zarnak base. Lights flashed. Troops moved in fear, double-checking every shadow. Cole had watched them. For days, he had mapped every wall, every patrol, every blind spot. This was where it would end. He moved like a ghost, cutting fences, disabling turrets, planting explosives. One by one, the base's defenses fell. Then came the attack. In the dead of night, explosions rocked the compound. Fires lit up the sky. Zarnak soldiers ran in panic. Sirens wailed. And in the middle of the chaos, someone saw him, limping, bloody, yet unstoppable. Cole fired his stolen rifle with precision. He fought with fire, with traps, with raw fury. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was justice, revenge, message. This was for every human who never came back. This was to show the galaxy that humans don't quit. Inside the command tower, General Vark grabbed his weapon and charged toward the fight. He found Cole standing among burning wreckage, facing him without fear. "You should have died," Vark growled. Cole wiped blood from his face. "You should have left us alone." The two charged. Blades clashed. Fists struck. It was raw and brutal. Vark was bigger, stronger. But Cole was faster, smarter, and he refused to fall. Vark slammed him into a wall. "You're alone!" Cole spat blood and smiled. "I'm enough." With one final move, Cole drove a knife into Vark's side. The general fell, gasping, stunned. Around them, the base was falling apart. More explosions, more screams, and then silence. Cole didn't stay to watch the end. He vanished into the smoke, leaving the Zarnak to clean up their defeat. When the humans arrived days later, they found what was left of the base, and Vark's final message carved into the wall. "Fear the humans. One of them is a storm, Cole." Was never found again. Some say he died in the jungle. Others believe he's still out there, watching, waiting. But one thing was clear. The galaxy had changed. The Zarnak stopped their war, not because of Earth's armies, but because of one man who refused to die. Now, across alien worlds, children grow up hearing his story. Soldiers whisper his name before battle. And in the darkest corners of space, if you listen closely, you'll still hear it. Cole Rivers, the man who taught the galaxy why humanity is never to be underestimated.